Welcome to Charles Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Wednesday, the 26th of October, comes to you from Bangkok in Thailand. I'm just finishing up in Asia and heading back to the UK at the end of the week. So, looking at the markets, we're seeing quite a bit of green on the screen this morning. In fact, it's a mixture of colours, really. The dollar is down, and looking at that dollar index chart, the weekly chart is still very bullish. Of course, the daily chart is just showing this 110 level is pretty critical. That would be a lower low if we spent a few days below 110. We do have targets on the 60-minute charts to 108.84, 108.73, so we may well break that 110 level. And interestingly, we've got a downside target here not yet activated. It's too early to call a top on the dollar, of course, but this lower low below 110 would be significant, and the cloud support there is about 110 as well, although the lagging line would need to get through the sort of 107 level. So this is the weekly, daily and 60-minute charts, the long-term, medium-term and short-term view of the market. We look at currencies first, then global equity markets, and we'll look at commodities and some of the precious metals and tech, and last of all we'll look at energy. So looking at the euro, we are back above that one level, which is really significant. Not really enough to change the trends. The weekly trend is, of course, the invert of the dollar index, and this is the first time we've been above one really for about a month, but it's too early to say that this is really a turnaround in the euro, but we are just seeing that dollar weakness being quite key there, and that's a relief for the Japanese yen. Here we see we've got the Bank of Japan have been intervening. We saw that volatility there last week, and that has just also been a factor in the recent dollar weakness. Looking at sterling, sitting at 115.75, and that's really significant because obviously we're now back above that pre-mini budget level for sterling, and market is really voting in favour of the new Prime Minister Rishi Sunak in the UK. So that is significant, not enough to really change the trend in sterling, but it is certainly off the floor, the levels that we saw back below that 105 level. We still do have targets to parity on the long-term chart, but we do have a new upside target there, and so it looks like sterling may well improve further. And on the very short-term charts, we've got targets to just below 120. So that will be significant. And looking against some of the other currencies, against the euro, we're at 115.44, so sterling starting to show its strength there as well. And if we look against the Swiss franc, which has also been a strong currency, we're seeing sterling stronger there. And against the Aussie dollar even, we're sitting at 179, so that's looking pretty good too. Bitcoin is actually back above the $20,000 mark, so that's the first time we've seen that for a little while. Not enough to change the long and medium term trends, of course. We do have some upside targets to around $22,000, $23,000, but it's way too early to say that this is a trend change. We've got lots of downside targets still hanging over us to much, much lower for Bitcoin. So still long term pretty bearish looking from the charts. The S&P 500 index was up 1.6% yesterday. That was pretty strong. The Nasdaq was also up, and we are just seeing there a real bounce. But of course, we did make this lower low. So we are seeing this price action of lower highs, lower lows, clear downtrend action with downside targets. So we're just seeing a little bit of rest bite. We did have results out from Apple and Google and Microsoft last night, Alphabet and Microsoft, and we'll look at the charts in a minute. But those results were the guidance for the future was looking very disappointing. So it's expect to see some more tech stocks being hit today, and we are seeing the futures down 0.7% in the S&P, and on the Nasdaq E-mini down 1.6%, really reflecting those announcements from Google or Alphabet and Microsoft. So really quite significant there. The FTSE future is very flat this morning, little changed, just really sitting in this sideways range for the last 12 months. The DAX in Germany is actually up slightly, but of course the long-term trends for the DAX are still pretty bearish. We did regain that $13,000 mark, 13,000 point mark, so that is significant. But really, we have quite a bit more work still to do before that trend would turn bullish. And of course, we've got a lot of resistance here showing on the point figure charts as well. Looking at Japan, we are up 0.6%. Asia looking stronger this morning, but we are just seeing that we are still pretty bearish, just flatlining there and lower. And of course the Hang Seng has been making 10-year, 12-year lows, so that's really quite significant there, just really capitulating in recent months. Bearish below the cloud on all three time frames, with downside targets given and met. Notice how that one was met. We've got new downside targets, and we cover these of course in our monthly reports as well. The Chinese market is below the 3,000 point level on the Shanghai Composite, and again just waiting for this lower low. That will be significant. So not a good picture here below the cloud on all three time frames there as well. The Sensex in India was down 0.5%. It bucked the trend slightly, just struggling still to activate that target. If we get above that $60,000 point, maybe 61,000 points, we would activate a target to 81. This is still looking relatively good compared to most markets, bullish above the medium and long-term charts. So India is still looking pretty good, and the Aussie market was up slightly. Inflation numbers out in Australia were a little bit higher than expected, especially for the quarter, and so that has just put a little bit of caution on the market there today. We'll look at the energy mix in a minute, but just looking at some of the soft commodities, they're mostly off. We're seeing sugar, wheat is actually bucking the trend, up 0.25%. Grain prices still rising, having pulled back. We are having built the base, just moving back to bullish territory, and corn is really holding on to that trend as well, moving back through the cloud, and the long-term trend is still up. Gold is sitting at 1670, so just pushing higher there on the short-term chart, just still not enough to really change the medium and long-term pictures. US 10-year yields sitting at 405, so really coming back there. So again, that's just showing a little bit of a sentiment change. Apple was actually up quite strongly, as was Amazon, but the key thing will be all eyes on Alphabet today and Microsoft. So Alphabet looking quite good there, but it'd be interesting to see how these charts react today. Of course, we are in downtrends on the medium and long term. A quick look at the energy mix now. We've got crude oil down. We were neutral out to clients today. We've got Brent crude down 1%. Just the picture not very clear. We're just starting to see new downside targets emerging there. US nat gas has been looking stronger since we got back through that $5 mark, and we are seeing quite a lot of support there. We've got targets to 614, 650. The short-term target's been met. Watch for new price action there. Emissions have been really strong. We've been calling them bullish for the last few days now, and really just running much higher, breaking out of that level. New upside targets there. Keep an eye on your 1-minute charts there. And of course, if we look at gas prices, they are looking a little bit stronger there as well. We're seeing MVP up 2%, TTF up 0.2%. But again, upside targets, and I've been getting alerts all morning saying that these targets have been being generated, so that's quite key. Taking a look at German power, we are sitting 1% higher this morning, but the reality is that is clearly in a downtrend, and of course we've got these new downside targets just to watch out for. Keep an eye on your 1-minute targets there. That's it for today. Tomorrow I will be in Dubai, so I will be sending that to you from there. And that's it for now. Until then, happy charting. See you then.